welcome back to J&J Fantasy Flyers. I'm Joey.
And I'm Jason, and we're helping you soar above the competition.
Soar above the competition. Welcome back. Glad to hear from you guys. A lot of love on Facebook. Keep it coming. We definitely appreciate that. Right, Jay?
Absolutely. It's always good to hear from the fans at home watching the show.
A couple people sent in their roster saying, hey, what do you guys think? You know, to be honest with you, the one guy had all kinds of players. It looked like he was in a 7 team league, man. It was kind of...
Yeah. I don't know how you end up with all those players on the same team, but I definitely need to get in that league for
yeah,
next year.
Definitely. Hey, just so you know who you are. Let us know. We'll do a J&J team next year. Whatever the buy-in is, we'll double it. All right?
Yeah, to get in that league, yeah. I mean, I'll pay whatever it costs.
Definitely. So here we are. This is our Dynasty episode. Me and Jay are very excited to bring this to you. We've been doing a Dynasty league here for, I think we're going on our 4th year now, right?
Yeah, this will be our 4th year, yes. Love Dynasty. I've been telling Joey, I think, for 3 years before we actually started a Dynasty that we need to start a Dynasty. Because it's just so, it relates so much more to the NFL.
Kind of gives you like a GM experience.
Yeah, I mean.
More stuff like that. I know for us, I got sick of building such a good team, and then, it's just over with. And it's like, man, and then you go to the draft, and all your guys are going in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd round, and it's kind of defeating, and you fall in love with the guy, you have him year after year after year after year. It's fun, and it allows you to do fantasy football in February and March and April.
Yeah, it gives you that off season, and it's a lot of fun, man, to draft your team and then build it from year to year, and just see where you started to where you go, and interact with all the other guys in the league and stuff. It's real fun. It's way better than redraft.
And we have a group chat, and we're talking dynasty trades. Come February, March, the scouting combine. I mean, that's a big time for our season.
April, May, June.
It's fantasy football year round. Yes. I mean, you guys are going to hear a lot from us in the off season about Dynasty, because that's our favorite league. Just to kind of give you a rundown of how our league's set up, we do have a salary cap, which we use the auction numbers for every year. So basically, our cap number is 280. So you have to be under 280 for the season. So nobody can really build a stacked team or anything like that. We do a rookie draft every year, a 4-round rookie draft. We have big rosters. I think it's 22 total.
I think it's 23, actually.
22 or 23.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's definitely cool. We have a practice squad to where they don't count against your salary cap. There's a lot of cool little
we just
things
added 2 spots to our practice squad.
So we have six total. So I mean, it's fun. There's a lot of different stuff, and it gives you more of like the GM experience, like Jason has said. And knowing what we know now, we probably would have drafted a little bit different come our Dynasty draft day, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a learning curve.
Absolutely.
Going into the...
And if we could put it into perspective here for you, the year that we drafted was the year that Sammy Watkins, Odell Beckham, Brandon Cooks, Kelvin Benjamin, Mike Evans, they all came out of the draft.
The year
they were all rookies.
Yeah. The year of the receiver.
And to be honest with you, that set the...
Was it the 2013?
2014
rookie
class? And that changed the outlook on everything, because nobody was really high on rookies. So we're here to tell you, maybe you guys learn from our mistakes. If you are doing a Dynasty draft this year, we want to give you a little bit of tidbits and a little bit of information as to if me and Jason were redrafting a Dynasty league this year, as to what we would do differently and what to look for. I mean, I'd say now that, with the Dynasty league, we look a lot more into the rookie position or the rookies that are coming into the league than we probably should have back then.
Yeah, and I mean, mainly what I like to do is I do focus a lot on the rookies and young guys. But you do need that veteran presence on your team. You need those guys.
To help in the locker room, stuff like
that. You need the locker room guys on your team. To pull a guy out of the pits after a bad game. Those Larry Fitzgeralds and Frank Gores. Those guys that he's going to be there for the young guys that don't know how to deal with the bad days.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if they're on my team, they need to know, because we need to get that going. But definitely another thing that we want to talk about is just how different a Dynasty draft is from a redraft. I mean, there's a good chance that you could get like a Marshawn Lynch who's going maybe 3rd, 4th round now. You could probably get him in a 6th, 7th, 8th round. But you need to know and you need to prepare that he's only going to help you 1 year, and you should have an alternative plan. For example, like I would take a Joe Mixon over a Marshawn Lynch. I would even take a Joe Mixon over DeMarco Murray, who's a first-round pick, right?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I don't know for sure if I would do the DeMarco Murray, but I mean, it's definitely on the table, and I guess, yeah, I probably would do it, but I think Mixon is going to be
even Derrick Henry on his own team. I mean, you have to look a little bit into the future. You need to kind of project guys.
It's more about than just this year. Who's going to help you win that championship for the next 5 years? Mm-hmm. And that's what you need to build your team for, let alone just here. And I mean, the same thing can go for like some guy like your guy, Marcus Mariota, or even a Jameis Winston versus Drew Brees. Drew Brees is probably going, I don't know how many rounds ahead right now of Mariota and Winston. In a redraft league. And I guarantee you Mariota and Winston are probably going the same number of rounds ahead of Brees in a Dynasty right now.
Yep.
I mean, they're probably flopped. It's just it's the way it is in the Dynasty.
It's all about projecting. If we could put it into perspective, we had one guy draft, he said, I'm here to win now. Right?
Yeah.
And he was in the Super Bowl the first year because he wanted to win now and this and that. He lost, however, and now his team he's rebuilding. He's the New York Jets of our fantasy football league. I mean, it's not good, and we'll give you your airtime, Mike Manicki. We'll get that little shot in there for you, buddy. But let's just say he's got a lot of work to do here. So he needs to rebuild, and he needs to rebuild fast. Well, Jason and I are looking pretty good. So he should have listened to maybe the J&J Fantasy Flyers back a couple years ago when we were doing the draft. We told him not to, but hey, he pays his money just like everybody else. So we're going to try and help you, get to... so that doesn't happen to you. And I think, we're going to go over just a little bit of strategies as to how you should do it going forward. In the Dynasty draft, it's not about getting, the best team that year. It's really not. You want to build your nucleus. And if you ask me, my strategy is I want the guys that can build my team. I want the 3 guys, my first 3 picks are going to be on my team for the next 10 years is the way that I look at it.
And they're going to be not just on your team, but they're going to be large contributors to be on your team. And I don't know if I give you maybe a halfway decent example is our first year. I believe I went to the semis and I lost in the semis or maybe the finals our first year of Dynasty.
It was the semis because Manicki and Silk were in
the semis. And then I turned around and I traded away a couple large assets and I ended up I think going worst. But I got, I picked up Amari Cooper. I drafted a bunch of stud young wide receivers. I traded away Megatron for #1 overall.
Which got into
Cooper. And, I mean, there's a couple other things that I did. And it actually, now here I am 2 years later from that draft. And I think my team right now is poised to make a big run for the championship. Not given some of the trades I made in between, but...
Yeah, I mean, either way, going into that, it's a lot about you got to try and project. You really need to look at the situation they're in. And we're going to go over a couple, dynasty do's, dynasty don'ts going forward here. And we'll get a little bit deeper into that as well. But if we could tell you anything, it's build your nucleus. You want the young guns, the guys that are 22, 23, 24 years old. To be honest with you, we're going to go over who we would take #1 overall. But guys like, Odell Beckham, David Johnson, Mike Evans, guys like that, they're young. They have not hit their prime yet. You're going to have them for a good 6 years putting up wide receiver, running back #1 production. And that's really what you want. If you're lucky enough to get guys like that and even a little bit later on, if you could get maybe Amari Cooper in the first round, or T.Y. Hilton or somebody who can grow like with, Amari Cooper and Derek Carr, T.Y. Hilton, Dante Moncrief with Andrew Luck. I mean, even Aaron Rodgers has a good probably 6 years left. Devontae Adams, or even their rookie Malachi Dupree. There's a bunch of different things that you could kind of go with that you could kind of project, going forward. And I would both say that I think here at J&J our strategy is both the same. That wide receivers have a little bit of a better shelf life than running backs. I think it's easier to catch the running back or the wide receivers early and project them going forward. They could play till they're 32, 33, a la like a Jordy Nelson, who's 32 years old now. And going forward, you can kind of tell where they're going to go. So you could get good fantasy production out of the wide receivers for a longer range of time. And I think that should be in a lot of your thinking going forward.
Absolutely. You get a wide receiver, I mean, you're looking at 7 to 10 year window of,
being a wide receiver one.
Maybe 5 year of, top-notch prime production, but you're looking at 7 to 10 year window of hopefully wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 production, whatever you draft them as. Obviously, you're not going to draft every guy to be a wide receiver 1. Those are your hopes, but it's just not reality.
Absolutely,
You do need to draft guys to be your number 2, and you need to draft guys to be your number 3. But the longevity for wide receivers is much more. I think literally you have a 3 to 5 year window for, the majority of running backs to be who they are.
Once they hit 29, 30 years old, they start to decline. They take a beating.
And they don't start to actually flourish until they're 25, 26.
Yep.
So, you're talking 5 years max for the top of the top. Most guys, you're probably talking, 3 years where they're just, everything comes into play at that point. Situation, talent, opportunity, all this stuff needs to be taken into consideration when you're drafting these running backs, and what they're gonna give you and produce on the field.
Yeah, and if anything, the NFL is unforgiving. You might have that one young stud rookie that everybody's high about. Who was the guy back in the day for Arizona? I believe Ryan Williams, the running back.
Oh yeah.
That everybody was high on, and he got hurt, and that was it. That was the last anybody ever heard of Ryan Williams. But man, before he got hurt, he was the next best thing. He was the next, Eddie George or anybody like that. Everybody loved him, and he got hurt, and that was it. And that was that. So that's another thing. We both say here, especially in Dynasty, you want to sell high. You want to sell as high as you possibly can.
Be a year early rather than a year late. You don't want to get caught on the downtrend. You're going to lose value for your guy, and chances are you're going to lose points on your end season. And, you don't want to get caught on that. Sell high. Don't sell a year too late. Sometimes it comes back and it bites you in the butt. You sell maybe a year or two early, and the guy still has those big years. But it's worth it. If you get proper value for who you're selling, it's worth it 3 years from now.
Definitely. And that's what we can say. And Jason did it. He went through a little bit of a rough patch there starting out with his Dynasty, to where you made trades to put you where you wanted to do. You sold a lot of young talent that, maybe didn't turn out to way, they were projected. And it's a lot of, watch the games. You look at the eye test. Just trust your gut. That's the one thing that I can tell you here with me is trust your gut. I traded Jordan Howard, this offseason. Jordan Howard's one of the best dynasty backs in football that you could possibly get. Anybody's going to tell you that. However, I believe that he's going to have the potential to bust out. Chicago's under a new regime. They're under, they traded up to get Trubisky. I see the writing on the wall for Jordan Howard to be one of them, lost guys. It happens every year. So I traded him, and when his stock was the highest. I may not have gotten the return that everybody would have, liked or seen. However, I got a future first-round pick, and I got Marcus Mariota. Going forward, in a couple.
Compared to what'd you pay for him?
To be honest with you, I got him off of Jason here.
I forgot about that.
Last year.
I drafted him as a third-round running back.
Yeah, third-round running back.
So at the end of the day, it's a third-round running back for a first-round and Marcus Mariota.
Yep.
So
and I got Larry Fitzgerald that helped me piece of something. It gives me a piece this year. But I have Mike Evans and I have Odell Beckham, going forward here. So I have my young nucleus, which brings me to my next point. Is there really, if you had the number one pick in the Dynasty League, I'd say that, Odell Beckham and Mike Evans are basically your only two choices there for number one, right?
Yes and no. I can understand the argument, and I think Beckham's at the top of my list, but I got Beckham and David Johnson at the top of my list. And honestly, I could definitely see putting in Le'Veon Bell there. And just a quick side note, most people think Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson, David Johnson going to, his third year this year, his fourth year? David Johnson is literally 2 months older than Le'Veon, or 2 months younger than Le'Veon Bell. So, you feel like Le'Veon Bell been in the league forever.
Yeah.
And here he is, the same age, basically, as this young up-and-coming running back.
And they both have old quarterbacks, too.
And the only reason I don't put Le'Veon Bell at the top of that list is because of his quarterback and team situation going forward. When you hear all the talk about Ben Roethlisberger possibly retiring.
But Carson Palmer's going to be retiring here soon. And they don't have the weapons that Pittsburgh has. But the thing that scares me most about Le'Veon Bell taking him 1 or 2, I would say would be more his off the field, the suspensions. He's one
This is
suspension
true.
away from
missing a year.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I mean that kind of scares me maybe a little bit more than the Roethlisberger situation. I think that Pittsburgh has a better offensive line
I mean,
going forward.
And then again, at the same time, when I look at a guy like Odell Beckham, who I have him next to David Johnson as my number one overall. And I mean, where's Eli Manning gonna end up?
Well,
what's
and
going to go on with his future?
That's why I would say I would put Mike Evans number one. I stood on the table, said that you guys should take Mike Evans over Antonio Brown this year. I think Mike Evans is the number one fantasy wide receiver this year. And I think he's number one dynasty pick as well. And the only reason when you're up that high and you're nitpicking between Odell Beckham and Mike Evans, that's exactly what it is. It's nitpicking. I mean, it's really, close. Odell Beckham could honestly be one of the best wide receivers when he retires. He's as of right now, if he continues on his pace, he's a future Hall of Famer, no questions asked.
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong, Mike Evans is too with the numbers that he's put up. However, Beckham has the entire package. He's got the market in New York. He's the guy that the league's going to build around off of going forward. However, Mike Evans has his quarterback. Mike Evans and Jameis Winston are going to be together for 10, 12 years, barring something crazy, trades, anything can happen. But Jameis Winston, I would say we're both agree, is primed for a breakout year. I mean, he could turn into a top 10 quarterback, putting up great numbers, with the weapons that they have. And I think Mike Evans is your number one fantasy pick.
I mean, we both wouldn't agree on Jameis Winston breaking out this year, but that's neither here nor there. But one guy I would like to interject in the conversation, kind of along the same lines as Mike Evans and Jameis Winston, and I'll talk about him more later, so I'm not want to get too much details. Amari Cooper, and him, possibly a lot of people are projecting him into his third-year breakout.
But see, that's
and
a little
he's
bit.
got Derek Carr, who is his long-term quarterback solution.
But that's a little bit different because I would have, with Evans and Beckham, they're a little bit proven. Don't get me wrong, I'm high on the Cooper train.
Which is why I said it's not along the same lines. It's
close.
It's a type of guy that should be in.
I think he's a first round pick.
Absolutely, he should be in there in your top 10.
Yeah, I would say top 10 for Amari Cooper. To be honest with you, I'd have and there's a good part of me that could see Amari Cooper going ahead of an Antonio Brown.
Absolutely.
I mean,
yes. I mean, based on the fact that Antonio Brown's getting older and Big Ben's getting older, and that, I mean, who really knows where Pittsburgh's going to be next year, let alone 2 years.
Yeah. And I mean, you have a lot of quarterbacks that are on their, their ending. Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. That's your big, that's all top 10 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Who's going to step up? Andrew Luck, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston. Who knows what Jared Goff's going to do there.
Derek Carr, Carson Wentz.
Yep. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot of young guys. And hey, if you can hit on that, you're good to go. If you can project where they're going to go, I mean, you gotta run a little bit of a risk in a dynasty. You have to sometimes take a gamble. And hey, I mean, there's a lot of people say fantasy football is more luck than skill. And I would agree in a redraft. But in a dynasty, you really need to know what you're doing. And it's still a little lucky, kind of projecting here or there.
The in-season's more luck, but the longevity is more skill.
Because
you can't predict stuff like injuries, usage. You can only speculate.
But, I mean, a lot of that is, too, you can see it. If you see that Mike Evans, his first couple weeks in the season, he might be something. Like, for example, we're gonna give another shout out to a guy in our dynasty league, Cedric Soria. He had Blake Bortles in Bortles' breakout year where he was a top 5 quarterback, and he traded Blake Bortles for David Johnson before David Johnson was anything. And if I can tell you guys one thing, when that trade went through, that group thread blew up. They said that was the worst trade ever. There's no way that anybody should be allowed to make that trade. And me being the commissioner, they wanted it vetoed. There was numerous people that said, this is ridiculous. You're trading a top 5 quarterback. He's a young quarterback. This and that for a no-name running back. And now he's arguably the number 1 player taken in every redraft league this year. So, I mean, hats off to Cedric Soria over there on that trade. But you can't. That's the kind of move that you need to make to stay relevant. He predicted that. He's seen the future, as to what he thinks David Johnson could be. And don't get me wrong, he showed flashes as a rookie, and Seth jumped all over it. He had, Jameis Winston and Derek Carr. He had his rookie quarterbacks. He didn't really need Bortles, even if Bortles was a top 5.
He had Breeze and Brady, or he ended up with Breeze and Brady at one point too. I mean, he had a stockpile of quarterbacks.
And he found his guy, and he took advantage of somebody who needed a quarterback, and boom, Seth's got David Johnson, and David Johnson won him 3 Super Bowls last year in 3 different leagues.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the fact that he had him in Dynasty, and hey, you can't go wrong. I mean, Jason drafted Amari Cooper in the first round, was first overall, when everybody was saying Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon. He made that choice. I believe you had the first 2 picks, right? And you took Devontae Parker, too?
In the rookie draft. It was actually supposed to be Kevin White that year, but Kevin White wasn't.
He got hurt.
He got hurt. And I was super surprised when he fell to me back in the second round, because I had the first 2 in the first and the first 2 in the second.
Yeah, and I mean, who knows? Who knows? The verdict's still out on Kevin White, however, it's not looking good so far.
Cooper, Parker, White, and Perryman is who ended up taking. And
hey,
it's based on the wide receiver, Draft your wide receivers and build your
definitely.
around that.
I had the 3rd pick and I took Todd Gurley, which, it's the great rookie year, mediocre second year. Who knows what he's going to do this year? However, going forward, you just never know. But you have to be able to, fall in love with the guy. Don't be afraid to make, that crazy, move like Seth made. And, go out there and get your championship. That's all we can say. I mean, Seth knocked me out because of David Johnson and Bilal Powell. I mean, who? Bilal Powell last year? Out of nowhere. And now, if you look at it, he's a great PPR option. You really need to be bold in the Dynasty League, and you need to, go after your guy. If you like him, go after him. And if we can teach you anything with Seth's trade, go get your guy, because you never know where he's going to be in 2 years. If that's your guy, go get him.
And if I can take that and kind of add on to it a little bit is, taking your rookie picks, and especially if you're a strong contending team, is taking those picks and trading them for a proven asset.
Yep.
Unless you're really...
If you have your nucleus, then go get that veteran presence that might only have 1 or 2.
You need that one guy to put you over the top. You need that... You need that wide receiver or running back. Yeah, you need that Jordy Nelson that can just set your team off to put you over the top. Give up that first round pick.
Yeah.
Because it might seem like a lot at the time, but to get that Jordy Nelson and to win that championship, or even for a question mark, if you're not sold on somebody where you're picking,
trade out. When in doubt, trade out
of it. Exactly. Why take somebody in a spot when you're not really sure? And if you're sure about somebody, you're sold, like you want this guy and you know he's going to be there, then hold on to that pick and just, get that guy on your team and build for the future. But, it's something I'm huge on, and I kind of have really a good mix. I usually trade a lot of picks for guys, and then I get a lot of picks in return for guys. So I really end up with a lot more later round picks than early round picks.
Which, that you can build your team with that. He took Jordan Howard late. For example, I took Sharon Peake in the 4th round, which is going to, he's a little bit of a dynasty sleeper here for you on the Jets. But who is Sharon Peake? Nobody knows. As of right now, or if I ever ask Jason who Sharon Peake is, what number he has no idea. No idea. But hey, I liked him at the scouting combine. He's from, Clemson. They have a good, tenure with receivers, and he just looks good. He passed my eye test. I spent a 4th round pick on him. He might be able to play valuable, spots for me here going forward. And in a dynasty, guys get hurt in the offseason. They're still on your team. Odell Beckham right now, he's on my team. He's got the ankle sprain. I might need Pete to step up. So, definitely.
Anyways.
There's definitely a couple different things that we can tell you. When it comes to trade strategy, don't be afraid. If you have your nucleus, I would say, then go get somebody. If you could trade for a young guy, if you could get an Amari Cooper, give up that first round pick.
If you're a contender, you need that one guy to put you over the hump. Do it. Don't sell the farm so you can't contend, but give up your picks. Package them with one of your bench players and get the guy you need. Make a move.
I think if we could tell you anything, be active.
Always
the answer isn't always in the draft, depending on where you pick. It's tough to project. Jamarcus Russell went first overall.
Where we're going in our 4th year this year, I'm pretty sure nobody on my dynasty team from when our startup was.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
I have Amari Cooper, who I drafted the second year. I mean, I've had Devontae Parker on my team 3 or 4 different times. There's a lot of guys that I've traded for. I mean, they come and go. These draft picks are so hard to hit on, and they're so hit and miss that you like I said, you sell high, you buy low.
For example,
I think I just bought Amari Cooper or not Amari, Laquan Treadwell.
Real low.
Yeah, what did I buy? I think I sold actually Theo Riddick and a 3rd round pick for Laquan Treadwell.
Yeah.
Who was a previous
he was the first round pick.
Number 1 overall rookie pick.
He was number 1 overall, he was first round. I took him at about the 10th round. Or the 10th pick in the first round. But he was the number 1 wide receiver in the draft last year.
Yeah, number 1 wide receiver in the draft.
I mean, going forward, you just don't know. I mean, Laquan Treadwell caught 1 pass last year.
And he didn't play, though.
Yeah. So, I mean, you just don't know. At this time next year, Jason might be saying, hey, Laquan Treadwell just won me a championship. You just don't know. Yeah. If it's your guy, go get him. That's, just know that, hey, anything could happen. You guys see it from year to year. David Johnson wasn't in the consideration for a top pick this or last year. Now he's the consensus number 1. I mean, so there's definitely different stuff happens. Go get your guy. If I give you a little bit of a example, Jeremy Langford in Chicago, like last year coming into it, he was the hot ticket, the hot seller. Jeremy Langford, he was the future in Chicago. He got hurt. Jordan Howard stepped up, and now Jeremy Langford isn't even getting drafted. I mean, it's
the same thing you can say Baltimore with Buck Allen, Javorius Allen,
any of them guys. I mean,
those guys just come in, they're flashes in the pan, and they move on.
It's tough to project, but all we can tell you is if you hit, you hit, and that can really set you up going forward. And rookies are tough, but let's jump into a couple of our dynasty do's and don'ts, just so we kind of give you a little bit of a mindset as to what you should be thinking. Now, we're going to list off a couple guys that we each have hand-selected, a couple guys that we would like to talk about, but you're going to see a common thread here with most of these picks that you're going to kind of get you thinking out of redraft standard leagues and into dynasty draft and how you should structure your team going forward. Jason, who you got? Let's start off with the quarterback position. Who you got? Give me a quarterback do, a dynasty do for your quarterback position.
My dynasty do is Russell Wilson, and I think it's all basically right there. I mean, Russell Wilson, he's young. I think he's going into his 5th year, 6th year as a quarterback. I mean, he's so efficient. He runs the ball, but he's not a run-first quarterback. He's a pass-first quarterback who can run. He adds so much on the ground that that's just so much more added extra. And last year, I think a lot of people were down on him because of last year, and he had an ankle injury, and it kind of hampered him all year. And when he can't run, he's just not right. And he's not able to do the things that he wants to do as a quarterback. And he's just so efficient. And he gets you the stats that you need to win week to week. I mean, I don't think there's really been a more efficient quarterback in the past 5 years than Russell Wilson when it comes to consistency.
See, I personally feel that Russell Wilson has peaked. I think that he has reached his ceiling. I don't think he's going to be much more than what he is now. I'm not a big Russell Wilson fan. Nothing against the guy. I mean, he's never been on any of my fantasy teams. He will not be on any of my fantasy teams going forward. I just feel as if his ceiling is already there. I believe there's guys that are a little bit younger, a little bit newer, that have higher upsides and can take over for Eli Manning and Ben Roethlisberger and guys like that when they pass. And I think my number 1 guy is Marcus Mariota. You guys have heard me say it before. I'm gonna say it again. Mariota is going to be a top 3 quarterback within the next 3 years going forward. He has the weapons. They just drafted Corey Davis, who I think is going to be the next Andre Johnson. I mean, they have the weapons. They're going to continue to get the weapons. The offensive line is young. It is dominant. Marcus Mariota is going to be the guy that you should target in your dynasty drafts. And dynasty only, not redraft, I would make sure that you could get Marcus Mariota, take him in the 4th, 5th round. I would say that that's probably early for redrafts. I would jump and get him. Get your quarterback going forward. I traded for him this year. I drafted him as a rookie. I kind of gave up hope on him, and then I came back to him as well. Marcus Mariota, for me, is the guy that I want going forward. And I think he has a higher upside than Russell Wilson. However, I think Russell is a safe pick. You know what you're going to get out of him. But I would still... I'm more of a little boom or bust. Mariota showed flashes last year. I think he makes the jump like Matt Ryan took last year as well. And that's the guy that you got to go and get.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think Mariota is a very good quarterback. He's a good pick, but I don't think he has the upside that you were projecting. And Russell Wilson does have the upside because he's been there before. He has the volume. They are willing to put the game in his hands. Mariota is not going to get the opportunities to just pass the ball as the majority of quarterbacks in this league. It's always been my main argument against Mariota with you this year, because I know how big you are in him, is the volume is just not going to be there for him. Yeah, I know he's an efficient quarterback, and I know all this stuff, but he's just not going to get the attempts that he needs to break into that top
Mariota last year, from weeks 5 to like week 12 or 13, was a top 3 quarterback.
It was also a historically easy stretch.
I mean, hey, you got to play who you got to play. I mean, look at the division that they're in. There's some easy defenses in there. However, I mean, going forward, he's done it. The writing is on the wall.
Are you going to base the rest of his career on 5 games?
I would not be surprised if Marcus Mariota is the number 1 quarterback taken in drafts 2 years from now.
I would definitely
in redraft leagues. That would not shock me one bit.
I would be surprised.
I think I'm jumping on the table for Marcus Mariota. You heard it here first from Joey and J&J Fantasy Flyers. That's for sure.
Yes, that is for sure. But to go on to the next part, is the don't in my QB don't is Cam Newton.
Cam Newton, the young Cam Newton. The guy who led the best quarterback of the 2015 football season.
The young and big and beautiful Cam Newton.
Why?
It's just the way he plays doesn't translate into growing as a quarterback.
So you think he's already had his best season? Absolutely. You think that's behind him?
Absolutely.
You don't think that the shoulder injury or anything like that is going to prohibit him last year?
It has nothing to do with shoulder injury. It's just the way he plays in general. He's a runner. He doesn't read his progressions very well. He's not going to fit it in the tight windows. He's just out there. He's just a gunslinger. And if you ain't open, he's taking off. And that does not translate into becoming a 30, 35-year-old quarterback. When his legs start giving out and he needs to start relying on his skills as a pocket passer, it doesn't translate well. I know Carolina as a team is trying to take that pressure off of him by bringing in guys like Curtis Samuel and Christian McCaffrey. And I don't think he's able to adapt to that type of game. He's not accurate enough, and he doesn't have the discipline to sit in the pocket and wait and go through his progressions. I don't see that being his game. I don't think it's what's going to happen.
So you're projecting him to kind of fizzle out.
Not necessarily fizzle out, but I see him as being maybe
low upside.
Right, yeah, low upside. He's going to hang around the number 12, number 15 quarterback. Maybe he might have a couple years in there mixed in where he might have some large rushing or some touchdown. He might finish in the top 10, top 7 once or twice, but I think overall he's going to disappoint if you're drafting him as your number 1 dynasty quarterback.
I mean, it wasn't too long ago I traded Cam Newton to Jason, and Jason was high on him, and now he's off the bandwagon. I mean, I think he's off a little up here too, because Cam Newton, I think, is a top 8 dynasty quarterback. I disagree. I mean, you're onto something with the progressions and going forward. He's got 2 young receivers in Funchess and Benjamin. I could see them adding another piece, here going in the future. Real short, short term. I can see them getting another stud wide receiver. I just think Cam Newton is going to mature. He's going to be more of a Donovan McNabb going up, or even a Steve McNair, if I had to put a little bit of a different spin on it. And I think he's going to be a top 8 quarterback for the next 10 years. I mean, I could see him doing that. I mean, I'm not as low on Cam Newton as you. Let me ask you a question. Would you take, in a dynasty draft right now, would you take Drew Brees or Tom Brady over Cam Newton?
Yeah. I would probably, yeah.
Just because you don't see a future with Cam, so you might as well win now with Brees and Brady.
Yeah, and I would win now and try to build through the draft or in a trade. I mean, he doesn't have the numbers that make you this guy needs to be on your team. I mean, he's only passed for over 4,000 yards once in his rookie year, and that was only by 50 yards. I mean, he's
best quarterback in the league in 2015. Best, number one, numero uno.
Yeah, and he only threw for 3,800 yards and 35 touchdowns. Which 35 touchdowns is good, but it's not to the point to where this guy needs to be on your team.
I mean, you make a pretty decent point there with the yardage. However, I don't know. I mean,
completion percentage has only been over 60% once in his career.
Yeah,
even his number one overall season was 59%. It's just his skills just don't translate.
Let me ask you this: would you take Mariota over Brees or Brady?
I mean,
yes, you would.
It depends on my roster construction, but I mean,
if you had to pick one quarterback, and them were your choices: Brees, Brady, or Mariota, who are you taking? That kind of hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably go Mariota.
I mean, and I agree. My quarterback is Brees or Brady.
It'd be hard not to. I mean,
I feel as if, and I think we would both agree that there are a lot of younger quarterbacks in this league that I think you should try and build your team around. You know, they might not put up the stats that Brees and Brady are going to put up this year, but you have to look into longevity. Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, we could add to the list, even Phillip Rivers. I mean, if you could get Brees or Brady as your backup, or if maybe you can handcuff the two, maybe go Brees and Winston and kind of make that transition there for you, so when you do lose Brees or Brady, you can roll right into it with the Winston or Mariota. I think that's a good strategy. However, you have to get one of them guys, and quarterback is one position that you do not want to mess around with, because when the quarterback position is gone, they're gone. But hey, it is what it is. Don't be a Mike Minicky. Don't draft that year. You don't want to do it. It's going to hurt you in the long run, and you're going to have to play catch up. But let's move on to running back. My running back is Todd Gurley. I think that Todd Gurley is going to turn around with Sean McVay as his offensive coordinator. I know it's not the regime that drafted him. However, they added Sammy Watkins. They have Robert Woods. I would say that we both agree Cooper Kupp, is up and coming. Tavon Austin, they gave the big contract to. They already drafted the number one quarterback, who was pretty anemic last year, to say the least. But however, I have Jared Goff on my Dynasty team. Going forward, I think he's still going to be a very good dual or capable quarterback. And I think Todd Gurley is going to turn around. I can see the Rams starting and slowly to draft linemen to help him out. And he might not do it this year, but I think going forward, his 25 to 30 season, I think is going to be equivalent to a Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson. And I think you just kind of have to maybe wait a little bit. I think the Rams have a good organizational structure going forward. I think they have the right coaches, the right GM, and I think they're going to put the pieces in place for Gurley to be successful. And I think, like I said, you might have a little bit of growing pains this year, and I'm very nervous to see as to what happens. But I think going forward, Gurley is going to be the focal point of that offense going forward. This year is going to be a third down back. Lance Dunbar's out for quite some time. Their backup, Malcolm Brown, is not a third down back, that's for sure. And I just think Todd Gurley is going to project. He's going to project well for you. I think he's going to take over for like Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson when they're on their way out. I think Todd Gurley is going to join the group. Would you agree with that? You got a different one that you're kind of looking into?
Oh yeah, and I mean, I think this coming from the running back might be kind of out of the norm, but it's Carlos Hyde. And basically, my thought process on this one is he's a highly touted athlete coming out of college. I mean, he ran a 4.6 40, which isn't the best, but for a 6 foot, 230-pound running back isn't bad. I mean, the guy, he's highly touted running back draft. He's got the high draft pedigree. He's got everything you look for in a running back, and he's coming up. He's in his contract year with the 49ers, which it could mean a lot. I mean, given where he might end up next year, if you can get this guy in the proper situation, I mean, he could easily be a top 5 running back in the right situation.
Or I think he's most likely to fall on his face. I don't think that. I think with the new regime, Carlos Hyde doesn't fit into Kyle Shanahan's, the way that he wants to run his offense. I mean, hey, it today from our draft that we had today. I think it's Matt Breida's show. Matt Breida, Joe Williams, the other guy that they have. I think they're more of Kyle Shanahan's type guys. I don't see San Francisco re-signing Carlos Hyde, and then you have to play the roulette of where does he go. I mean,
which is fine, even if he did. I mean, let's say Carlos Hyde being on the horrible offense that was the 49ers last year, still finished as a number 1 or number 2 running back, which would be in the top 12 or top 24, 68% of weeks last year. He finished 0% as a number 3 running back. I mean, when he was on the field, he was putting up the numbers you need from him to succeed. And that's something he does. He's a strong runner. He gets the volume. He gets the yards. And I think you might have to stick him out for this year, which is fine because you're not paying high capital for him. You're not going out there. You're not getting him in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round.
What round would you take Hyde in? Because Hyde's going 4th, 5th round in redraft leagues.
In a Dynasty startup, I think you should be able to get him in the 5th or 6th round. You could maybe even get him later depending on your league.
Would you take him over Todd Gurley?
I mean, no, you don't have to.
You think you get both?
You could get Gurley earlier and then Hyde later, but I could see a future where Hyde is a better producer running back than Todd Gurley.
Does Hyde have a fantasy future in San Francisco, or does he have to go someplace else?
No, he's going someplace else. And I mean, he doesn't have to go someplace else to have the fantasy future, but he's going to. San Francisco's not going to bring him back. I don't even know if he wants to go back. And maybe he feels shunned by the recent moves they made and the quotes coming out of camp about the coaches and GM not liking him and yada yada, not fitting into the scheme. But he doesn't need to go somewhere else, but he will go somewhere else, and if given the proper scheme, he can be a top 5 running back on your team.
All right, that's bold. I would say that's bold. I'm not a huge, Carlos Hyde fan. Never have been, never will be. However, hey, you never know. I mean, he is a young back. He is only 25 years old. And he is a hard-nosed runner. I think I agree with you, and he does need to go someplace else to be fantasy relevant, I would say. But you could do worse than your running back, too, than Carlos Hyde. You can do a lot worse. I mean, There's going to be some people there taking Marshawn Lynch. I would take Hyde over Lynch. I like Todd Gurley. I like Gurley. But give me a don't. Give me a running back don't.
Don't is actually, I'm trying to stay away from rookies because we're going to get to them later, but it's Christian McCaffrey. And I know, he's being so highly touted. He's having one of the best off seasons coming into this
Do you just hate Carolina?
No, but this pick is based off the same thing as Cam Newton, is why I picked Cam Newton. It's not in Cam Newton's game to play this kind of football. Christian McCaffrey's position, what he excels in, is not a translatable position in the NFL. Besides the very few, Danny Woodhead, who, I mean, yeah, he's a great NFL player, but he doesn't really...
You don't think McCaffrey can run between the tackles?
No, I mean, yeah, to a certain extent, but they're not going to run between the tackles. And no, I don't think he can do it effectively year to year. I mean, he just doesn't, his game doesn't translate into a hyper-productive fantasy football player. NFL player, he could be great. But they're two different things.
You think he's more of an offensive weapon than a running back?
Absolutely. And, I mean, he's going to give you production. Don't get me wrong. I think he can be a Danny Woodhead, a high-producing Danny Woodhead. But those Danny Woodheads comes with ups and downs every year, and they only give you, real consistent production in a PPR format.
So would you take a Leonard Fournette over McCaffrey?
In a standard, I would. In a PPR, I mean, I would probably consider No, I would still take Fournette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree on the Fournette over McCaffrey, but I mean, McCaffrey was drafted 7 overall. There's something going in Carolina to where they're going to use him. I
just don't see it translating. I get what you're saying. I get all the things. I see
that's
everything.
That's a tough call, especially in a dynasty, because hey, if McCaffrey's your guy, he's the guy you want to go after. If you believe in him, go do it. But as Jay's saying, if it was but let's say he had the 5th overall pick in a rookie draft and McCaffrey was the guy there, you're probably trading out. You're probably trading back, right?
I'm going to try to. I mean, if I can't,
there's going to be somebody that's going to want to move up and grab McCaffrey.
Yeah, but if I don't get the proper what I want,
the package.
If I don't get what I want for it, then I'll sit there and I'll take McCaffrey and I'll roll the dice with him. I mean, we know all these predictions. I'm not saying McCaffrey's going to be the bust. Cam Newton is never going to do anything again in his NFL career.
But I think what you're saying is don't buy the hype on McCaffrey.
Yes.
Don't take him in the 2nd, 3rd round, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you could get him in the 7th, 8th round.
If you want, just be cautious.
Yeah.
Do your homework, do your research. I mean, I've seen the video. He's been explosive this offseason. I mean, he gets the ball in his hands. He's a special type of player. But I don't see that having, again, the longevity in the NFL.
Yeah, my fantasy dont's going to be a little bit more predictable, and I'm not going to give you any, per se person, but I think it's any running back about 30 years old. There's no reason for Marshawn Lynch, Adrian Peterson, even maybe, a LaShawn McCoy, which he should still be drafted, but not early. I would not take a 30-year-old running back before round 5 or 6. I mean, if you need help at the position because you want wide receiver heavy in the early picks, then go ahead and take, a Lynch or a Peterson or a McCoy or somebody along them lines. However, I would stay away. They're not, there's not enough upside there to help you. I think the rookie running back class is super deep. I'd much rather see you take a McCaffrey or a Delvin Cook, a Joe Mixon, somebody like that, over, Adrian Peterson, Marshawn Lynch, and I think that speaks more to the depth at the running back position this year, and especially for a dynasty startup. I mean, Kareem Hunt's looking like he's going to be the number 1
Absolutely.
as well.
And I agree with that. I mean, just basically for the fact that 30 years old is
the shelf life. Yeah, I mean that goes back to the wide receiver shelf life that we were talking about.
That's just year they drop. Usually not. I mean, I don't want to say everyone because Frank Gore's going to play until he's 42, but that's usually the year where they start to fall off a cliff. Their decline begins.
I agree. So that's just kind of what we're just going to reiterate this point here for you. Steer clear of the golden oldies, so to speak, in a dynasty startup, because they're not, their value, even if it comes down to trade or just future, it's not going to be as great as a young gun. A lot of times if we're telling you to sell high, we really mean it. I mean, if you draft McCaffrey and he's not your guy, then trade him. I mean, somebody's going to overpay for McCaffrey. Somebody's going to overpay for hype. I'm not a hype guy. Don't get me wrong. I'll jump on it in a rookie draft, but I do not buy hype. Yeah, I want to see proven stats.
Put the offers out there. You don't know. Make an offer. I mean, don't go around lowballing everybody. But shoot an offer at somebody that you think is fair, someone you like, and see what happens.
Can't hurt.
Try to upgrade those players.
Jason, I'm interested to hear this. I mean, after everything else that we've been doing here, let's mix this up a little bit. Give me a wide receiver don't first before we get into our do's.
Well, this might knock you off your seat a little bit.
If you say Odell Beckham or Mike Evans, I'm getting up, I'm walking up.
No, but
is it Kelvin Benjamin? Let me guess.
It's Julio Jones.
Julio Jones.
Julio Jones is my wide receiver don't.
Why is Julio Jones your wide receiver don't?
It's simply based for a dynasty only situation. I mean, he's 28 years old, almost 29. The guy's getting older, and he's always have lingering injuries. I mean,
foot problems.
He's always got the foot problems. I mean, he's always, almost every single week, on the injury report. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen week to week. I mean, he usually plays through it, and he usually gives you the numbers that you need, but he does have those stinkers. I mean, he totally disappears from 2 or 3 games a year. And the main thing is, going forward, I don't know what he's going to give you. I mean, he's 28 years old. He's got a new offensive coordinator. He's getting older. If these injuries start, hampering him more and more as he gets older, is he worth that top 5 overall pick as opposed to Amari Cooper, who could be Julio Jones in the next 2 years.
Would you take
or
Cooper
the next
over
8
Jones?
years. Yeah, I think I would. I think I've been offered stuff more than Julio Jones from Amari Cooper that I've turned down. And I know you're buying in on the hype in a situation like that.
But I think that's more of a safe buy.
Yeah,
I mean,
you gotta
we
trust
would
your
be-
instincts too on something like that. You know, if you really believe in somebody or you really don't believe in somebody, then you have to follow that, and you live and you die by it. Really.
I mean, that makes sense. I guess that's not as crazy as your Cam Newton. Don't. But I mean, I could see with the Julio Jones. I'm not that high on him myself. You know, especially with the foot issue. If there's anything that we've seen in fantasy football, it's the foot issue is horrible. You know, when it comes to you know, fantasy production. And hey, you know, Julio Jones is playing Monday night in Atlanta, and you don't know if he's going to play or not. You better have Taylor Gabriel on your team or a wide receiver from who they're playing.
Yeah.
Because it's tough. It bugs you. And to be honest with you, it's probably going to take a couple years off your life. I know, you know, God forbid, if my old man had Julio Jones, I mean, he's sweating, man. I mean, I know he's Italian and everything like that, but I mean, he's going to be sweating, and he's going to be on that waiver wire looking to see, you know, what's going on. Is Julio going to play? And that's every week. I mean, that gets old after a while. Yeah. So, I mean, I could see that. I would say, for me, my wide receiver don't, and I know you're going to disagree with me here because, you know, he's one of your favorites, but I would say any Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver, any one of them, whether it's Antonio Brown, whether it's Martavis Bryant, Juju Smith-Schuster, Sammy Coates, Eli Rogers, the guy they draft 2 years from now, I don't care who it is. I just think that when Ben Roethlisberger goes, I don't think it's going to be Josh Dobbs. Let me rephrase that. Please, God, don't let it be Josh Dobbs. I mean, if that's the case, then Josh Dobbs.
Who?
D-O-B-B-S from Tennessee.
I'm not even sure I know who that is.
Yeah, it's that bad. They don't have a plan in place. He was thinking about retiring this year. I don't think it's long. Don't get me wrong. I love Big Ben, and that offense is potent. But I'm staying away from every Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver this year in Dynasty, whether it's Martavis Bryant, whatnot. You're only going to have a 2-year window. I think for Martavis Bryant to turn into a number 1 overall wide receiver, Antonio Brown has to move on, and Bryant needs to step up a little bit. With his suspension history as well, it's not long until he's out of the league, a la Josh Gordon. Sammy Coates, I do like, just as a redraft option. And Juju Smith-Schuster, you know, he's one of my favorites, and he's a fun name to say.
Juju.
But I would stay away. I'd stay away from all Steelers wide receivers going forward. But let me switch it up, and let me give you a guy that I like. And most people are going to be down on it, but I think that dynasty-wise, I think he's a steal that you can get late in drafts, and that's Sammy Watkins. Let's not, you know, put everything that happened in Buffalo on the back burner. He didn't want to be in Buffalo. Hell, I don't want to be in Buffalo. Jason doesn't want to be in Buffalo. Nobody wants to be in Buffalo. I mean, unless it's a chicken wing eating contest.
Buffalo doesn't want to be in Buffalo.
No. I mean, no. If you go down the streets of Buffalo, not too many people are happy to be in Buffalo. Nobody takes a vacation to Buffalo unless you got family up here, and if you do, you moved away for a reason. But Sammy Watkins going to LA, he's going to be the number 1. Jared Goff's there. He's a young quarterback. That whole offense is young. Sean McVay is going to put Sammy Watkins in options to use.
Jeff Fisher's gone.
Yeah, Fisher's gone. Thank God. And I think, you know, let's not forget Sammy Watkins was drafted before Brandon Cooks, Odell Beckham, Mike Evans, Kelvin Benjamin, who else? Jarvis Landry. I mean, he was drafted before all of these guys. He was projected to be the next best thing. And, I mean, let's face it, Tyrod Taylor was his quarterback.
He's got that talent, though.
I mean, it's there if he can stay healthy. Yes. I mean, we have not seen a healthy Sammy Watkins. Andre Johnson was hurt early in his career. Sammy Watkins, I think, is going to be revitalized by going to L.A. Who knows if he stays there past this year? I think he does. I think L.A. gave up a lot to get him.
And this year might not be his big blow-up year either.
I don't think so.
He could stay healthy.
However,
I think he needs another year with golf in the system. If things go accordingly this year, next year could be a very huge year for him.
Yeah, and I think right now you could buy low on Sammy Watkins.
Absolutely.
I think you can draft him late in your drafts, and he's
a perfect buy low candidate.
There's nobody that has a higher upside in the 4th, 5th, 6th round in Dynasty than Sammy Watkins. Let's be serious there. I mean,
very good pick.
And let's go back to, another thing that Jason said in a previous episode. Wide receivers don't normally come out right out of the gate firing. They normally take a couple years to get ready. Sammy Watkins went on the field, is a proven wide receiver. The dude can catch the ball. He is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to play for Buffalo. I don't make the money that Sammy Watkins is making. And I still don't want to play for Buffalo. I mean, Tyrod Taylor is horrible. I mean, Buffalo in general is horrible. The fans were on him like crazy because he cannot stay on the field. I mean, he came out and told us all to go back to our $40,000 a year jobs. I mean, I just think, Watkins going out to LA, the weather's better, everything's going there. I think Sammy Watkins is a great dynasty pickup this year. And I would say if you could grab like a Mike Evans or Odell Beckham, and you get, let's say, I don't even know, maybe an Alshon Jeffrey for your number 2, and then a Sammy Watkins. I think Sammy Watkins could be arguably your number 1, number 2 wide receiver over the next 2-3 years. I mean, hey, you never know. He could suck, and it wasn't just Buffalo. You know it is. Trust me, I live in Buffalo. We both do. But it's
Buffalo.
It's I like Sammy Watkins in a dynasty. And to be honest with you, I talked myself into it, but I got to figure out who has Sammy Watkins, and I'm going to send them a trade. You continue. Give me your due.
It's
Is it Brian?
Yeah.
Let me see Brian's team here.
But anyways, I'm going with my wide receiver due, and it's going to be Amari Cooper, which I led on to earlier. Then I'm going to talk a little bit more about him. And this is really it. I mean, the guy, obviously everyone's predicting a huge year for him. And I don't really want to dwell on that because I think it's pretty well known. It's not well known, but it's thought of he's going to get that third year wide receiver jump in production. But just to briefly talk about, I mean, he's gone from an 18th overall to 12th overall finish. I mean, every year he comes in, he's the past 2 years going in his third year, he produces, his numbers go up every single year across the board, which is what you want to see in a high-producing offense. And not to mention, he just turned 23 going into his third year. And just to put that in some sort of relative terms here, is Mike Williams, the rookie on the Los Angeles Chargers, is only 4 months younger than Amari Cooper. Corey Davis from the Titans rookie is only 7 months younger, and John Ross, the rookie going into the Bengals, the burner there, is only 5 months younger. So these guys are rookies, all highly touted rookie receivers coming in, and they are all less than a year younger than Amari Cooper going in his third year, putting up top 12 PPR receiving numbers. Not to mention, he has the NFL record for being the youngest player with 70 receptions and 500 yards over the first 6 games of each of his first 2 seasons. Well, 70 receptions a year is 21 or younger.
I love Amari Cooper too. I could say that I might take him third overall behind Beckham and Evans.
He's in my conversation.
I mean, I'm projecting him to be great. If the only thing that is lacking for Amari Cooper is the touchdowns and red zone looks. Yeah. They're going to come eventually. Yeah. I mean, you don't take a guy like Amari Cooper if you're not going to use him there. Eventually, that is going to take place, and him and Derek Carr are going to have that little bromance for quite some time. I would say you finally hit one of these dudes, that's for sure. Do's and don'ts. So I like Amari Cooper.
Gee, thanks.
And hey, I mean, I would say that's almost an obvious pick. But you can't go wrong. I mean, that stat you said about the rookie wide receivers, I mean, that's phenomenal. That tells you a lot right there, just on his
I mean, who knew how young he was coming into his third year?
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's a pretty good stat. I'll give you that one. What about tight end? Tight end gets a little interesting.
Tight end. My due here at tight end is actually Hunter Henry, which may not be a huge surprise. But, I mean, he had one of the most productive years a rookie tight end has ever had, which is very hard considering I'm a strong believer in rookie tight ends just don't produce. It's the hardest position to produce in your early years as an NFL player.
I'd say quarterback.
Well, obviously with quarterback. But anyways, I don't even think this year is going to be his huge breakout. But once Antonio Gates is gone, I think he's just going to jump to a whole different level of tight end. And I think right now even he's going to be a serviceable tight end. You can still have on your team and still put in your starting roster and still be okay with it. But once Antonio Gates is gone and they're not feeding a future Hall of Famer the ball anymore in the same position, this guy is just, he's going to be, I mean, I don't want to say Gronkowski, but he's going to be a different level tight end than everyone else.
What happens when Rivers goes?
It doesn't matter. It just the type of tight end he is, the way he gets away, the way he gets separation, he can make the jump ball in the end zone. Anybody throwing him the ball. Anybody throwing him the ball.
Boston, not Buffalo.
Hey, now don't make fun of me. Anybody throwing him the ball, he's gonna catch it if they put it close enough.
I hear you. I mean, you threw me off with the ball.
But what can I say?
He's gonna catch it.
Me, Mark Wahlberg.
Is he getting traded to New England now? It's a little bit of foreshadowing there.
That's what that was.
If he goes to New England, you heard it here first at J&J Fantasy Flyers. That's for sure. I'm gonna go with another guy that's kind of similar to Hunter Henry. That's Tyler Eifert. I think Tyler Eifert. Andy Dalton's still young. Throughout Tyler Eifert's fantasy career, that you're going to want him on your team. Dalton's going to be his quarterback. He's a touchdown machine. I think the yards come. I think he's going to be a little bit healthier going forward. And that's really all I got. I think Tyler Eifert's going to catch the ball. He's going to catch touchdowns. AJ Green's getting up there in age, and I think that he's going to take the next step. He's going to be a top 5. He's going to be a perennial top 5 tight end.
I agree with you. I can't really. The only argument I have against Eifert is his injury history and can he stay healthy and play 16. If he can play full 16, the guy's going to be straight up beast.
Yeah, I mean, good chance he's going to have 12, 13 touchdowns.
Especially in this standard type of format. I mean, he's going to catch tight ends. Jesus, I can't even speak tonight. He's going to catch touchdowns. I mean, he's going to catch 4 or 5 touchdowns a week. I mean, it's just what he's going to do.
4 or 5 a week, that's a lot.
That's what he's going to do.
Yeah, and that's all he's going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, he's touchdown or bust. But, I mean, hey, there's a lot of weapons. You got John Ross taking the secondary. He's going to take the cover off the defense. And Tyler Eifert's going to run the seam in the middle. I mean, it's the writing's on the wall for that one. I would take Tyler Eifert over Rob Gronkowski. Brady's going to be done here.
It's tough. I mean, you can't really argue with that. I mean, Gronk is getting old himself. So, I mean, but speaking of injury prone, my tight end I'm going to lead right into that, is Jordan Reed. And as good as he is, and I know he's still young, and it's a tough pick, but I just think you don't want to build a team. I mean, you're building your whole team around the guy, but where you're going to take him is you're going to build your position around this guy that I don't know if he's going to be there next year. I mean, one more concussion and he might be done for his career.
Yeah, that is very true.
I mean, I just don't. It's too much of a risk. It's as good as numbers he can give you. I don't see it. I think there's plenty of other guys that can produce close enough to him.
Would you take Jimmy Graham over Jordan Reed in Dynasty style?
Yeah. Yes.
Jimmy Graham.
Yes.
I'm gonna give you a little bit of rapid fire here.
Mm-hmm.
What about Tyler Eifert?
Yes.
Over Jordan Reed?
Yes.
Hunter Henry?
Yes.
Eric Ebron?
No.
Julius Thomas?
No.
Okay.
I'd put my cutoff probably right around I would probably take Ertz and Rudolph up above him, and that's about it for a dynasty.
Okay. I can see that. My don't is going to be Gronk.
Big name.
Huh?
Another big name.
Yeah. I just, how long can Tom Brady do it? I mean, how long can he actually do it?
Probably at least till he's 45.
No way. There's no way. I mean, Peyton Manning looked fantastic until he didn't. It was like, Peyton Manning, oh my God, he's never going to age, and then,
well, he had his neck surgery.
Still, I mean, come on.
I get it. I get that. I'm just kidding when I say.
I mean, Brady's got to retire sometime. I mean, we're Dolphins fans here. Please, Brady, if you watch this ever, I know you don't. We're not that big. Just.
Make this your last year.
Just if you win the Super Bowl this year, man, right off in the sunset. We never hear from you again.
Back to back. You get 2 back-to-backs in your career. I don't know if it's ever happened. Just walk away.
Yeah, please.
Walk away.
Just go, brother. I mean, just
go home.
Just let it happen.
Just go home, Todd.
I mean, you have a beautiful wife. We're all jealous. You have the rings. You have the career. You have the pedigree. Shit. I mean, everybody calls you the GOAT. just go, man. I mean, go. Don't do the Peyton Manning where he was absolutely horrible. Even though Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl, just go. I mean, please, as a Dolphins fan, I beg
you. Is this a Tom Brady segment or Gronk segment?
Oh yeah, back to Gronk. Yeah, once Brady goes, Gronk's done. I mean, I think I think when Brady goes, Belichick, pretty much, and that's the only reason. I mean, where you're gonna have to pay to get Gronk, I don't think he gives you the longevity. Don't get me wrong, I like Gronk. I love him this year in a redraft league. I think by all means you should take him. However, going forward, Tom Brady's gonna listen to this video and he's going to say, "Hey, you know what? Thanks, J&J. We appreciate you," and say we're gonna go.
I'm pretty sure he just did friend request us. So
did he?
Yeah,
let me check that real quick.
He did.
Yeah, and he said right here. Hold on, I'm gonna send him a message.
I'm pretty sure I declined it though.
Oh, I don't blame him. That's a smart move.
It ain't gonna be your friend.
But and I'm sure there's a bunch of Bills fans here with us here in Buffalo. That come on, Brady. You literally own Buffalo. You might as well just buy it from Pagula and call it a deal. Cause hey. They can't beat you. But, I mean, I would say Gronk. If you could get him in the 4th, 5th round, then jump on it. You'll get 2 years of production, maybe. But I honestly think that when Brady retires, Belichick goes, and then I could see New England going.
All right, fair enough.
And then the Dolphins are going to be perennial Super Bowl contenders, and life's going to be good.
It's living large,
But let's take this to a different direction. And I would say here, from both of us, our Dynasty rookie draft is coming up. And we're both been cycling through picks. We think it's a deep class, real deep, to the point to where 3rd and 4th round picks have a lot of value.
Absolutely.
And the rookie running back class, I think, could be on par with the 2014 wide receiver class. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's a deep running back class on par with the wide receiver class. I don't know about that. I don't think you're gonna get that many top running backs as you did wide receivers. And when you're talking about top 10 wide receivers year after year, I mean 3 or 4 of them.
Give me your number 1 rookie right now.
My number 1 rookie, Joe Mixon.
Out of every position.
Well, every offensive skill position, yes.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yes, Joe Mixon.
We're not in the defensive league.
Yes.
You know, we should probably start one.
Someday.
Yeah, there's a lot of work. We're going to stick to offense here. Joe Mixon. I mean, you know me. I love me some Joe Mixon this year. And, God, I have a decision. I have number 1 overall in our Dynasty League.
It's not even for this year, because I don't think he's gonna give you numbers this year that you need to have him in your starting lineup every week. But his situation is gonna change.
All right, I have number 1 overall in the rookie draft. Help me. Who would you take?
I would take Joe Mixon. But he's not gonna help you that much this year if that's what you're looking for.
I mean, you think Joe Mixon's gonna be a better running back than Leonard Fournette?
Absolutely.
I don't know, man. I think Fournette's going to be pretty tough. Jacksonville, they're going to build the offense around him. Dude's a bruiser. He did it at LSU, big name college. He's done it before. Don't get me wrong. I like Joe Mixon, and I'm literally trying to talk myself out of taking Joe Mixon. That's the hype train that I'm telling you about. Before, any of this happened, it was Joe Mixon. He's not a first-round pick. And then it's slowly been, wow, did you see Joe Mixon? He'll text me all the time. Did you see what Mixon did? Did you see what Mixon did? The guy who's got number 2, which is Mike Minicki again. He's on me. And, I want to see what Mixon does, man. Did you see what Mixon does? So I don't know if he's trying to get me to take Fournette or not, or if he really likes Mixon. But hey, what can I say going forward here? What about a rookie wide receiver? Who do you like?
Well, I mean, if you're talking the top rookie wide receiver, or just someone I like.
Just give me a couple of rookie names that you like.
All right, I can give you a few here. I got Carlos Henderson, Chris Godwin, Taywan Taylor, John Ross.
I like Chris Godwin, but man, did he get buried when he went to Tampa.
It's such a great talent buried in a horrible situation.
Let me give you guys a little bit of an insight thing as to something to do. Pay attention to the combine. The combine, there's no teams. There's no situations associated with them. And I think we both picked up on Chris Godwin there. He looked tough.
Not even, pay attention to the combine, but do your scouting before the draft. Get your guys, man. Get your talent lined up before the draft. because then you know who's good. And then it's before all the hype train, it's before off season, it's before all this stuff, it's before all these mainstream media sources are putting all these things into your head.
Yep.
Because of where these guys landed. You know, everyone's all high on so-and-so because of his current situation. But he wasn't on anybody's radar going into the draft.
Kind of like Kareem Hunt. I mean, look at Kareem Hunt now. He's been pushed up draft boards. But we watched him in the combine. We weren't that big of a fan. But now that he's in a good situation, I think, don't get me wrong, I like Kareem Hunt because of his situation.
Yes.
I think there's more talented backs out there.
He's talented enough, given his situation, to produce. And you got to take both into consideration because situation matters.
But let's put it like this. Let's say you key in on a guy that you love at the combine. Then he gets drafted into a good situation, but nobody's really talking about it. But you kind of see the writing on the wall. I mean, that's kind of something to where you can get that gold pick. And to be honest with you, mine was Sharon Peak last year. I loved him at the combine. He got drafted to the Jets. I was like, the Jets. But then I was like, you know what? There's, Marshall and Decker, there's a good chance they might not be there anymore. Now look at it. He's probably going to be the number 2, arguably the number 1 by the end of the year.
There's one thing you can go forward thinking too is talent is always going to be there. Situation changes.
Yes.
Especially in the NFL, it changes from year to year. You draft based on talent, and 9 times out of 10 is going to work out for you.
Talent will always show its true colors. If you get a guy that's talented, he's going to make his own situation. And I agree with Jason on that. But, I mean, the rookie class is deep. I mean, give me a couple names that you really, really like. Just overall, maybe a little bit of a 3rd, 4th round rookie draft pick. Who you got?
I honestly, and this is kind of going against my previous picks, but the guy I really like is Curtis Samuel.
Yeah?
I do, and I'm pretty sure I've been saying that from the beginning. I like his landing spot. I like his skills. I mean, the guy was, in his senior year, he had 771 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns, on top of 865 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns. He averaged 128 yards total per game in Ohio State. So in Ohio State, we're talking about the top talent he's playing against in other conferences. He's not going against these mid-major, these other teams that don't really have all the talent that he does. I mean, he's a slot guy, and that's what he's.
He's a burner.
That's what he's built for. He's a burner. He's quick. He gets out of his breaks good. He creates separation.
Like a Brandon Cooks?
Like a Brandon Cooks, like a Julian Edelman, I think might even a little bit
more
better.
Speed.
But at the same time, I mean, he's got the same size and build as like Odell Beckham. 200 pounds, 5'11", and I mean he doesn't have the same type of hands as Beckham, but he's got the same build, the speed, the quickness out of cuts and stuff. And I know like I said everything against I said about Cam Newton and where that game translates. I think it's a different type of position than what I said Christian McCaffrey was coming out of the backfield. As a slot position is a slot position, and I think it's one that can sometimes go underrated and still produce pretty highly for you.
I agree. I like Samuel. He's not really ending up on any of my teams just because I think it's with McCaffrey, and I think he kind of gets knocked down a pegs. One guy that is ending up on my teams, and that's Matt Breida from San Francisco. He's from Georgia Southern. Nobody knows about him. However, watching in preseason, it's like, wow, this dude has it. He came from, like I said, Georgia Southern. He's there for a reason. Somebody likes something. He's rocketing up the depth chart. I believe he took the number 2 job. And there's going to be a time with how much I don't like Carlos Hyde. Matt Breida is going to be starting on somebody's team come fantasy playoffs. And it should be yours. You can grab Breida probably late in your rookie draft. Probably not mine anymore. But Matt Breida, I think, is a late round flop.
I mean, if you need to draft him in some rookie draft.
Yeah.
It's a good pick. I mean, I agree. I mean, Joe Williams was drafted as a number 2 there, and he obviously lost that position. And Matt Breida's been nothing but, standing out in camp in preseason. And, I mean, I can see a situation where maybe Carlos Hyde isn't a good fit. Or if he gets hurt and stays on course with what he's done in his career, it's Matt Breida's job. I mean, he seems to be on course for a starting position, if not this year, next year in San Francisco.
Okay, give me let's go different route here with the rookies. Give me a wide receiver that you believe could be, I don't know, top 20 next year that we're not talking about. Mine is Corey Davis, because Corey Davis is kind of the consensus number one. But I'd say after Corey Davis, there's a big drop-off as to wide receivers. I believe in a rookie draft, you're going to see, maybe Corey Davis go in the top 4, and then it's going to be rookie running backs there on out for quite some time. I mean, who's the next one that you could see jumping into wide receiver 2?
Mine is John Ross.
You like John Ross?
Actually, I really like John Ross. And it's kind of same. He's got the same build. 5'11", 190 is Beckham. T.Y. Hilton, Deshaun Jackson. I think his floor as an NFL player, maybe not this year, but going forward, is Deshaun Jackson. And he's got the ceiling of Odell Beckham, T.Y. Hilton. I'm not saying he's going to reach that ceiling, but that's where his potential could be. He's not just a burner. Everyone knows his speed. And, you hear somebody that runs a 4.2, 240. All you can think he does is run down the sideline and catch bombs. It's not all he does. He's a very good route runner. He does the crossing routes. He's good at getting out of cuts. He makes a separation, and he's got really good hands. He's not the best all-around receiver, but he does more than burns along the sidelines. He gives you... he makes those spaces for a quarterback that could be good enough. Someone like Andy Dalton, who was, upper echelon, top tier, middle top tier quarterback, to put the ball in the spaces it needs to be in and make those plays. And then after he catches the ball, if you're not on top of him, he's gone. Yeah. He's going to get those yards after catch. I can easily see him being way higher than where he's going right now next year.
There's gonna be a wide receiver that none of us are really looking at. Whether that's Juju Smith-Schuster, I like D.D. Westbrook out of Jacksonville.
D.D. Westbrook.
Who's the Jets got that Stewart guy, Darius Stewart.
Darius Stewart. Kenny Galladay. Detroit. I mean, he said they're calling him pretty much a little mini Megatron down over.
You had mentioned Carlos Henderson as well,
who's hurt. And I don't know if he's going to do much for you this year. He's not going to build that rapport with the quarterback, even given their horrible quarterback situation. I think Trevor Siemian looks horrible this preseason. I'm
going to give you two guys to keep an eye on. One is Mac Hollins from Philadelphia. I watched the Dolphins-Eagles preseason game 3-4 times. I like Mac Hollins. I like what he does. He didn't have that big of a game, but I like him. I think he could sneak up into top 10 rookie wide receivers this year. And the only other one that I like, I hate where he landed, don't get me wrong, but before the draft, I was all about him, and that's Zay Jones from Eastern Carolina University. God bless him. He came to the Buffalo Bills. I was not happy when that pick went through. He could have went anywhere else. I'd have took him to Cleveland. But the Bills. Until they figure out their quarterback position, let me rephrase that. Until they get rid of Tyrod Taylor, I'm not on any Buffalo Bills player. However, I love Zay Jones. I love his talent. I thought he was arguably one of the best wide receivers at the Combine. Corey Davis didn't really participate. I loved him. I think he has a good shot going forward here. God bless him in Buffalo, but they have to get good at some point. But with Zay Jones, I just think that he's going to be the safe option. He's going to get a lot of volume in Buffalo. They're going to have him on the outsides. I think he's really going to excel. But hey, I mean, you could do worse than Zay Jones in a rookie draft. I think you could get him in the second round. But I think after Corey Davis, I think it's kind of, just throw a dart and whoever you land with, hopefully he breaks out, right?
Absolutely. And I'm going to just give you real quick a name that I like as a very deep Dynasty sleeper. He's a rookie this year. And I actually drafted him and I wanted to redraft, which I really didn't have to, but I wanted him on my team. And I actually picked him up in my one Dynasty league before I even heard about the Meredith injury, before Meredith ever got injured. This is a guy that I picked out and I wanted on my Dynasty teams before Meredith. And now that Meredith is out, it's even bigger for me. Is Tanner Gentry, which I honestly couldn't even tell you too much about the guy. Everything I tried looking up on him, there's just not too much out there. I mean, he played in the All-West Mountain in college. I mean, he's led the conference with 1,300 receiving yards and tied with 14 touchdowns. He's making waves in training camp. He's getting in. He's the first team. He's doing all the right things you like to see as a rookie coming into the season, and I'm not saying he's going to blow up and go for 100 catches for 1,500 yards, but I could see a situation where this kid can come out as a rookie year, with 60 to 70 receptions, or 50 to 60 receptions, and giving you 800 to 1,000 yards receiving. And he could be a big surprise, and he could be on a lot of people's radar come next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've watched him catch one ball.
He caught a 45-yard touchdown.
Something like that.
Yes, and I mean that was that was after I picked up on him.
But you could do worse as a 4th-round pick. I'm gonna give you just another name here, and that's just because Julian Edelman got hurt. You never know what they're going to do with their slot guy. That's Austin Carr, undrafted rookie. He's I thought he looked pretty good in the preseason games. He's a slot guy. He fits the Julian Edelman mold. I just, New England and Bill Belichick, they always find talent. That's just a deep flyer there for you. But at J&J Fantasy Flyers, that's what we do.
That's what we do. Give you those flyers.
So just kind of recap here with our Dynasty selections and Dynasty, drafts. It's don't draft age. I mean, if draft the upside, take the chance. Take the gamble. Chances are it's going to pay off for you. And trust your gut.
Yeah, I mean, take the
Amari Cooper over Antonio Brown.
The talented youth over age, but get your veterans in there too. You're going to need a couple of veterans.
Build your nucleus. You're going to want to build your nucleus, for the future. Get your young guys. Get your your core guys, and then build age around it. You have to have a backup plan. And just remember, every guy is replaceable. Like Jason had stated, situations change. You never know what's going to happen. Somebody could get traded, and then it's a whole new ballgame. I mean,
sell high. I mean,
sell high.
If you got a guy that's in his 6th year in the league, and he comes out with these career high numbers out of nowhere, and he's just all of a sudden all over everyone's radar, sell. Because chances are, that's not who he is.
You never know. I mean, hey, if we knew exactly what to do every time, then we would be playing FanDuel and winning lots and lots and lots of money.
That's right.
But I mean, hey, sell high, buy low. Sammy Watkins, go grab him. He's your perfect buy low candidate this year. Yeah, I didn't get a text back from Brian, but hopefully he'll wake up.
I tried to get him from last year, man. He ain't got nothing.
He's
a homer. But now he's not a Bill, so.
Yeah, he's he's actually a 49ers fan, so.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, going forward. But hey, what can we say? I think we gave you learn from our mistakes. We went there. I believe you drafted Adrian Peterson kind of higher. I was looking into Peyton Manning, but Manicki scarfed him up before I could.
You took AP in the 1st round, I believe.
Second, you took Calvin Johnson in the 1st.
That's right.
So don't do a J. I want to say I took Des Bryant. I got Antonio Brown and Brandon Marshall were my first 3 picks, but I hit on Antonio Brown. Yeah. So I mean, that set me up. Brown's no longer on my team. I had to trade him to save some cap, but now I have Beckham and Evans. It gave me a little bit of chips to move around. So make that pick. I mean, I can honestly tell you that I was on the table, and Jay's gonna laugh as soon as I say this, but my Dynasty pick that year in 2014 was Cordero Patterson. And he did not do anything. So sometimes you swing and miss. Sometimes you hit it out of the park. I hit it out of the park with Antonio Brown, and I struck out looking with Cordero. That's for sure. But once again, I'm Joey from J&J Fantasy Flyers.
I'm Jason. Hit us up on Twitter @Fantasy Flyers.
Or on Facebook, J&J Fantasy Flyers. Give us a like. Shoot us a tweet. Send us a message. Send us your rosters. We'd love to see your teams this year. We always answer back to you.
And just to let you know, we got coming up, we are trying to get our website up and running with rankings and other options. You can view our videos. We're trying to bring you a audio-only downloadable podcast, so you don't have to sit there and stare at ugly mugs for an hour anymore. You can just download the audio, listen to all this super fantasy information, just blowing your eardrums, helping you win your leagues. If that's what you want, that's what we're trying to give you. Give us, coming into the new season, we're going to bring you a weekly podcast with our rankings and our positional breakdowns.
Our website's going to be up and going there for you by the start of the week 1, every Wednesday. Check our website every Wednesday. We're going to be having everything up there for you from our rankings, week-to-week rankings.
Yep.
We're going to give you a little premium content with our sleepers and stuff. Who we like and maybe our ad drop section as to some guys to kind of target going forward.
Yeah.
And hey, like I said, you guys you're going to see the information here. It's going to be on our website, and it's going to be helping you soar above the competition. That's what we do.
You can see here we're slowly trying to upgrade and move forward, and just kind of grow a little at a time. We got the banner now, and hopefully with this video will come our new intro, if it works properly. So
let us know how we're doing. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
I can honestly say that we're up to about 500 friends on Facebook. Twitter is up and going too. We are new, but definitely, and like I said, I told you not to take David Johnson first. I know you guys still remember that. That was probably our biggest hit video that we have so far. Check out our YouTube. Shoot us a like, subscribe.
Spencer Ware one, but
yeah. Hey, some people like it, some people don't. But like I said, I'm Joey from J&J Fantasy Flyers. That's Jason. We're helping you soar above the competition. You guys have a great night.